Welcome to another exciting week of Child Articulation Idol. I'm your host, Sandy Banks. Last week on Child Articulation Idol, we met Darian, who is 3 years, 2 months old, and his mother, who is deeply concerned about her child's articulation. Last episode, we used the Goldman-Friso, or Test of Articulation, Sounds and Words subtest to test Darian's articulation in 3 positions of a word: initial, medial, and final. We showed a picture of the word to elicit a response from Darian to produce the sounds to test. For those of you keeping score at home, simulability will not be considered in this case today because proper examination techniques were not conducted. While considering today's results, we will disregard consonant blends because Darian has not reached an age where this should be a concern. As we consider what treatment option might be best for Darian, we'll now meet with our judges to hear their initial thoughts and reactions on whether or not Darian seeks treatment. Alright judges, let's hear from you. The first sound or phoneme that causes concern was esh, and Darian missed this target sound in all 3 positions.
We believe that this is not an area of concern since the esh emerges when the child is 2 1/2, yet he does not master it until the child reaches 7 years old.
Bright little Darian still has a few years to master this sound, and if this error continues throughout his language development, it might cause an area of concern.
Our next phoneme is also known as the ch sound. During testing, Darian produces with errors in all 3 positions. Judges, should this be an area of concern for Darian's articulation development?
Not quite yet, Sandy. This is another sound that emerges when a child is 2 1/2 years old and should not be mastered until the child is 7. So it happens as each child masters and perfects his or her articulators.
This fricative is very difficult to produce, so we'll give Darian a few more years to grasp it.
Up next is L, which was only missed when produced in the initial position. Do I see any red flags here, judges?
No, of course not, Sandy. The L emerges around 2 and does not reach mastery until the child turns 5.
Darian gets extra points today since the L has already emerged. He produced it correctly in 2 out of the 3 positions already.
Way to go, Darian.
This phonetic symbol makes the j sound. This was assessed in 2 positions and an error in the final position. Is this normal development, judges?
The sound emerges around 3 years old, and Darian has until 7 to master it.
Since this sound has only been around for about 2 months, Darian has plenty of time to master it.
Next, we assessed theta, and Darian misarticulated in all 3 positions. Judges, this can't be good, right?
Actually, Sandy, this sound or phoneme, theta, emerges around when the child is 3 1/2 and is not typically mastered until they turn 7.
This means that missing in all 3 positions is okay, since he has not reached the age of emergence yet even.
Coming up now, we have the phoneme V, which was produced correctly in final position, however incorrect in initial and medial positions. Judges, should we be concerned?
Not at all, Sandy, since the V sound emerges around 3 years old and a child typically does not master it until they turn 8.
So Darian has plenty of time to get this one, and he's already attempted the V at his age, so that's great.
It seems we're rolling with the big dogs now, judges. The F, or voice TH sound, was assessed and incorrectly articulated in the 2 positions we tested.
Take it easy. The voice TH or F does not emerge until the child turns 4.
And Darian has plenty of years until he's the age of 8 to master the sound, so he's doing well.
Looking ahead now, we discuss the sound M, which Darian missed in the final position. Since Darian seems to be ahead, this shouldn't worry us, right, judges?
Wow, this bilabial sound should have been mastered when Darian turned 2.
This definitely causes an area of concern. Let's look at what type of error Darian produced.
Well, it seems Darian denasalized the M by substituting a B sound in the final position. We'll have to have another look at this one later.
Keeping that in mind, another sound error Darian produced was when articulating T.
Yes, T should emerge when he turned 1 and be mastered by the time he turns 5.
Although Darian still has time to master this phoneme, this causes an area of concern because T is one of the most frequently produced phonemes in the English language.
And with this T, he substituted using a phonological process of glottal replacement.
Moving right along, when testing Darian for R, he missed both the medial and final position production.
The R should be mastered by 5 years and have emerged around 2 years. Yes.
Darian's not yet at the age of mastery. However, in the medial position, he showed the errors of gliding and completely omitted the R in final consonant deletion.
This is one of the most frequently occurring phonemes in the English language as well, so we might want to have another look at this.
Next, the S phoneme was also assessed with Darian, in which he misarticulated the final position.
With emergence around 2 years and mastery by 8 years old, This one might raise a few eyebrows.
Although Darian still has a few more years until he's at the age of mastery, there is an area of concern in his distortion of the S in the final position.
Also, S is a building block that will help Darian produce other sounds that once he's mastered, and one of the most frequently occurring phonemes in the English language.
Mastery of the S is key for language development.
With all these sounds assessed, while considering treatment options for Darian, which errors cause the most concern and are important to mastery and therapy?
Well, while keeping in mind that the most commonly occurring phonemes in the English language are T, D, N, S, and R, Darian showed areas of concern for R, T, and S.
While he has more time to master some of these, they are important, especially the R, which he did misarticulate in 3 positions.
M is also an important bilabial phoneme, which Darian should have mastered when he turned 2.
By targeting these 4 sounds, we can elicit a response from Darian and be able to aid his language development of articulation.
Other phonemes to consider addressing in treatment once our primary sounds are mastered are called secondary sounds. We recommend L and the voiceless THF since both occurred frequently in errors and both are key to Darian's development of articulation.
With these 4 sounds assessed, Darian can increase his articulation and intelligibility of his speaking.
Well, there you have it. Darian is a pretty articulate for a 3-year-old, but he still has some areas to focus on. Stay tuned next week to find out how Darian does in treatment and meet Dakota, our 2-year-old child who has no control over her tongue, literally. See you next week.